Hello and welcome back to Far Beyond the World. We will be continuing where we left off, which, if you recall, is right after the human went to sleep and ended up waking up in a very peculiar place. Which throws into question that perhaps um all the things that we witnessed, or that the human witnessed, with the wolves were all in his head. But something's fishy with this um new reality the human is in. Hmm, Let's see what's up with that. Also, this is a standalone build, exactly like the Chapter 7 one, and there's no save or load function, as you can see. So, if you want to access any of the previous chapters, you can do so over on the itch.io page, and they're all still there. So I'm gonna call him Kalen still. I guess that's gonna be his name from now on. I wake up extremely fresh and rested, almost as if coming out of a decade-long sleep. But as I open my eyes, I am met with both unfamiliar and yet oddly recognizable scenery. It's a room, not the one in the forest, but an actual room of a modern day youth. There's some random posters and hobby paraphernalia, figurines, and even a corkboard with different cards and pictures. I immediately spot a PC on the desk, although the display is rather old and boxy. Even the window offers the view of a concrete jungle I thought I would never see again. I struggle to pull the covers from me, but eventually manage to slide my legs off the edge. Groggily and with a lot of effort, I manage to sit up and give this place another look. What the fuck? I nearly jump as the door suddenly cracks open and a strange yet familiar woman enters the room. She looks like a typical 50s housewife. Oh, finally! There you are! She rushes towards me with a wide smile, and in a panic, I slide off the bed, my legs still very much stiff and unresponsive. Careful! The woman mutters and helps me up to my feet. She acts so friendly and forward that I keep staring at her intently, trying to conjure any memory of her, all to no avail. The doctor said that your muscles will take some time to adjust. She continues once she sat me back on the bed. But none of that matters right now. Everyone will be so relieved. She claps her hands together and takes a joyful whirl in the middle of the room, causing her dress to spiral and unfurl like an umbrella. What? She's acting like a sitcom mom, sickeningly sweet and joyful. Granted, if I were out for a while, it wouldn't have been a somewhat unnatural reaction, but this feels off. I gaze around the room, noticing different wishing cards along with some balloons and garlands. There's even a welcome back Kalen sign. What is all this? Do you like it? I was in charge of decorating. She seats herself next to me and pets my face in a motherly fashion. Each day I would sit here beside you, thinking what to say when you finally wake up. How long was I out? It doesn't matter. She shakes her head, grasping at my hand. What matters is that you're back here, where you belong. Belong? Again, I make a careful scan of the room. Although it looks vaguely familiar, I do not feel I really belong here. Would you look at that? She suddenly scoffs and gets up, poking merrily at her wristwatch and making a silly face for emphasis. Your father is running late again. He promised he'd be back in time for dinner, but you know him. She swishes her hand dismissively and approaches the door. Do I? I don't have doubt in my tone, and she stops, turning on the heel to give me another goofy expression. Of course you do, Kalen. What a silly thing to ask. And for some reason, her calling me that makes my stomach churn, but despite grimacing, she doesn't seem to mind. Anyway, I made your favorites, pizza and apple pie. So, 2 pies? I blink, again casting my gaze at my room, in confusion. Come, get yourself changed and join me in the kitchen. She waves her hand invitingly and disappears into the adjacent room. I just sit there, stunned, looking at this new place I found myself in. Where the fuck am I? It takes a while for the reality of it all to sink in. I struggle to grasp all that's happening, but eventually I gather the strength to move. Despite the window being cracked open and the obvious breeze ruffling the curtains, the air is oddly heavy. My legs, as she indicated, feel rather funny, and I have to pay extra attention with each step. I slowly approach the desk, pushing away a bundle of weighted balloons. There I find my change of clothes folded neatly on the chair. Only now it appears to me that I actually check what I'm wearing. It's a dark blue pajama set with a bunch of full moons and a styled wolves howling at the moon. I pull up the top ever so slightly as to uncover my abdomen. The scar where I was stabbed is replaced with stitches. Was I operated on? I feel so confused. I look at the desk, trailing an assortment of different wishing cards, picking up a few at random. Get well. We miss you loads. Yours, V. I can't wait to see you again. You're the best. Triple X Cora. What? Are those meant to be my friends? There's so many things I need to tell you. I hope we'll get another chance. From the looks of it, I have at least a dozen, each card more elaborate and heartfelt than the other. Was it really all just a dream? It couldn't have. No, it doesn't feel right. My heart begins to race in desperation, and I quickly look at the shelves for answers. There's a teddy bear with a green plaid bow next to an action figure. I pick up the plastic warrior, carefully inspecting the details. He's uncomfortably reminiscent of Rannoch, almost as if he were his blueprint. There's even a dandelion and a Celtic knot badge stuck to the corkboard. A cold shiver shoots down my spine, and the horror of it all begins to sink in. I've made it all up. All of it. Oh God, this is too cruel. I cover my trembling lips, now flanked by 2 warm streams of tears. I feel numb and hollow, my heavy chest slowing my breath to a near standstill. I've met someone I love and care about only to have it be my own delusion. Most likely fueled by some fucking game. I cast my hateful gaze towards the stack of different titles and grab a few. Medieval Knights, Werewolf, The Full Moon, Dating Simulator. It all makes sense. But as I shuffle the boxes with growing panic, a sliver of a memory pierces through the darkness. I open one of the plastic lids and narrow my eyes in confusion. It's a CD. When I think of games, I think of CDs, but I can't remember the last time anyone used one. I blink away the tears, my mouth slightly opened in shock as I look to the upper shelves. A globe and some class books. Geography too, algebra, biology. I chuckle at the realization that those are school textbooks, not college ones, but high school at best. Why would I have those? And above it all, on a place of honor, a generic first-place trophy overlooks the room. I strain my sore muscles to reach for it, but eventually I have it in my grasp and I bring it down for a closer inspection. First place for excellence in sports. What sports? I'm as athletically inclined as a couch potato. My eyes instinctively venture towards the leather glove with the ball nested inside of it. Is it to say that I play baseball? I shake my head in disbelief and put the cup down onto the desk, brushing the chair out of my way. If anything can clear this up, it's definitely the computer. I press the power button, and to my surprise, it starts making the most unexpected sound. A bunch of beeps preceded by mechanical screeching and hissing noises. Is that a dial-up tone? But just as I think this cannot get any more absurd, the screen goes full-on Matrix on me. Lines of green gibberish flood the display from top to bottom. The computer won't be of any help. Caleb, hurry up and change, dear. I look towards the door where the woman posing as my mom calls from. Reluctantly, I reach for the clothes she prepared, but still trace the corkboard for answers. There's a post-it note with no clear date. Friday, Bestie's birthday. Remember to bring a gift. Is that meant to be my handwriting? What sort of maniac would leave a note like that? Also, if I needed a reminder, I would have set it up on my mobile phone. I, I know mobile phones. I nearly exclaim in excitement. I had one, I'm sure. I might not remember owning one, but I'm absolutely certain that they are a thing, and the majority of people wouldn't get by without one. This shit is ancient. I nearly laugh at the ridiculous desktop I'm presented with. At first glance, that's exactly what I would picture if someone asked me what a computer looks like. But I know they're no longer, well, this. I look towards the two Polaroids pinned in place as I put my pants on. Hello, bestie. I mutter cynically, rubbing my face of any remaining tears and giving a contemptuous look towards a bland youth next to me on a generic beach day photo. Then my eyes wander to my holiday memento. Eiffel Tower. Of course, it'd be France. If you think of a random posh holiday abroad, where else would you be? Well, that or Rome, I suppose. But as I button up the top of my shirt, I can't help but laugh at the metal. I gently pull it away from the board and inspect both sides. First place again. This one for being the best. Of course. But the biggest killer is the acceptance letter. Apparently, I got into Harvard. Lucky me. I roll my eyes unenthusiastically. This is some wannabe wish fulfillment. There's even a express train ticket to get to Boston from wherever this is. Which is fuck knows where, because upon closer inspection, the ticket is valid from any station. Smooth. But I think I spoke too soon on what's too much in this cabinet of curiosities, because the actual killer is what I've just put on. I've been so preoccupied with all the bullshit that I didn't even pay attention to what I was changing into. It's a freaking school uniform. None of this makes any goddamn sense. Calum! The mother calls out, this time more impatiently, so I decide to humor this charade. But as I'm about to open the door, I'm stopped by a giant keep out sign. At first, it almost feels like a warning, but then I realize that all of this stuff is slightly off place. If you think of a teen's room, this sort of sign would be the first thing to come to mind. But if you don't know where it should go, it's a 50-50 chance that it'll end up on the wrong side. I carefully cast a glance over the bedroom and realize that there is no medical equipment. Unless I was in an induced coma, at least a drip would have made sense. How else did she feed me? Like a foie gras duck? I chuckle, shaking my head and open the doors with a newfound confidence. I'm not sure where to go, but I follow the sound of the gentle hum made by the strange woman. The air is continuously stifling, and I pull on my collar. There seems to be something in it that I can't put my finger on, but it's there, almost choking me. As I walk through the small hallway, I notice odd porcelain figures resembling Wizard of Oz characters littering the place. That's because they are just that. There's Dorothy and Toto, there's the Tin Man, even the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. Come to think of it, the mother wears Alice's outfit too. It almost feels like a collage of my random thoughts. I smile, noticing a rotary dial phone standing on one of the shelves. Again, perfect example of what a phone is, but when was the last time I saw one like that? This whole place is trying so hard to sow the breadcrumbs of my memory trail. It's an obvious construct made without any understanding, and this knowledge emboldens me to face whatever comes next. But before I enter the kitchen, I'm stopped by a discreet yet discernible scent reaching my nose. It's barely tangible, but I take a deep inhale. I'm sure it's there. Lavender. I blink my eyes, looking around in confusion. There's a scent of lavender in the air, and as I scan the rooms adjacent to the hallway, I can see odd bouquets of those purple flowers dotting the place. I'm sure they weren't there before. Huh? I take a puzzled step into the kitchen, causing the other mother to finish her song. She turns on the heel with a big, wide smile, putting down a bowl she was just fiddling with. There you are. Don't you look smart? What's with all the lavender? I point towards another bouquet standing in the middle of the kitchen table. Don't you just love it? She shrugs happily. They're my favorite. The smell is just divine. They weren't there just a moment ago. Oh, another one of your games? How fun. The woman laughs me off and returns to face the counter. I take a reluctant seat, looking at the flowers with doubled suspicion. Why didn't I smell this before? To be honest, I've gotten so used to them that I forgot half the time that they're even there. She shrugs, whipping something energetically inside the bowl. I feel so helplessly confused and I simply sit there, listening to her resumed humming. But the scent intensifies, as if it was calling out to me. I reach out to one of the stray stalks, and just as I touch the petals, the entire floret completely disintegrates into thin air, like it was never there. What the? Is everything alright, love? It's hard to breathe. I mutter, getting slowly overwhelmed by the scent. It's as if someone doused the entire place with lavender perfume. My, I might have overdone it a little. She pats her cheek in a troubled expression and immediately proceeds to open the windows. Here, let me take these. The woman smiles and grabs the vase from the table. I don't know why, but I don't want her to take it away, so I reach out towards her arms. What's the matter, honey? Where are you taking them? Oh, just to the other room. I'll be right back. As she disappears behind the doorframe, the sweet floral aroma suddenly vanishes, replaced by a vague scent of fresh air. I look towards the open windows with suspicion, watching as the blinds bob on the wind. The smell might be gone, but the air is just as heavy as it was. When she returns, she pats my head and begins to hum again. For some reason, I get a very troubling vibe from her. I'd much rather be back with... Oh fuck, what was the Grey Wolf's name? I close my eyes, rubbing my temple and straining to remember. How could I possibly forget it this fast? Damn her obnoxious humming. It almost feels as if it's scrambling my thoughts and it makes it harder to recall things. Mother? I mutter, drawing her attention and ending her siren's call for just a moment. I've decided that I've had enough of games. Something's not right. I know this isn't right. Everything's fine, Kaelin. Soon you'll feel back at home. You'll see. I can't really feel at home with you having buttons for eyes. Very funny, Coraline. She responds to my joke with a soft chuckle, but something about it feels off, almost as if my very own ghost children were telling me to run. At times like these, I'm glad I've consumed as much pop culture as I did. I need to go back, I state sternly, continuously preventing the woman from humming. Go back where? To... I struggle, desperate to speak up his name. To Rannoch, I exclaim with satisfaction through a strained huff. I want to go back to Turnan. At first, she looks at me in slight shock, but then gives me a pitiful smile. Sweetie, I don't know what any of that means. I know you do, and I want you to let me go. Rannoch needs me. You're not a prisoner, dear. I'm not keeping you here. She splays her arms in feigned surrender. If Rannoch's one of your new friends, then by all means, I don't object to you hanging out. Just as long as he's not a bad influence. Is he one of those foreign exchange students? The name sounds awfully funny. He's not an exchange student. He's a wolf. Oh. The woman clicks her lips and looks at me with pity. I can't remember the last time that we went to the zoo, but if you want to... Not that kind of wolf. He's a chief's son and an alpha, and we're heading out to Strandbar tomorrow. I reiterate, not much for her sake, but to ensure that I haven't forgotten anything between her hellish humming. Fancy that. She shrugs and waves her hand at me. It was all just a dream, Kaelin. Soon you'll forget all about it. I don't want to forget about it. I jump up, slamming my hand into the table and yelling out in equal parts frustration and desperation. But the woman only shakes her head dismissively, and to my complete surprise, she shoves a hastily made sandwich in my face. "You're awfully moody today. Must be hunger. Here, have a PB&J. What? I blink, grabbing the food in utter confusion. I thought we were having pizza. Well, I figured we could wait for Dad a little while longer. After all, he works very hard to provide for us. Everything she says is so odd and surreal. It feels like I'm losing myself in this play pretend. I look at the generously loaded sandwich, seeing as the mixture of jam and peanut butter nearly drips down to the floor and my stomach grumbles. I am quite hungry. But before I take a bite, a question occurs to me, and I blurt it out almost without even thinking. What does Dad do for a living? I'm sorry? The woman faces me, taken slightly aback. Work, Mom. As you know, my memory isn't so great. I poke my temple, still toying with the sandwich. I can see her eyes lock onto my mouth, and she rubs her hands nervously, almost as if waiting for me to take a bite. Her ring is on the wrong finger, now that I think of it. Mom, what does Dad do? Aren't you hungry? She asks through an awkward smile, and I shake my head, putting down the PB&J. Whatever's in it, I will sooner starve than eat it. I'll wait. You work so hard on my favorites, I don't want to ruin my appetite. Right, of course. Her voice is now less chirpy. So, what does Dad do? Your father does business. He is very successful. Doesn't really look like it. I nod towards the middle-class looking house. So, what does he do exactly? I just told you. Business. She smiles again and returns to face the counter, chopping at some carrots energetically. But carrots don't go on pizza, unless you're in California. They'll put anything on pizza there, but this place doesn't fit the bill. As a person from California, I take offense to this. It doesn't fit any bill, now that I think about it. No, very much we are still not in Kansas. We're not anywhere really, and my only chance of getting out is to break through the charade. Seeing that I have no other choice, I decide to push further and make this prisonscape unravel. Yes, you said that, but what kind of business? Business is business, as they say. You don't know then? A loud clang startles me as she slams a knife against the board and turns to me with a less amused expression. Dearie, let's just give your little game a rest for now, She bobs the knife in my direction and I swallow nervously. After all, you have more important things to worry about. School starts tomorrow and you have much catching up to do. Whoever this other mother is, she's trying desperately hard to keep up her facade, but the jig is up. Okay, no. Enough. What is this? I ask calmly, causing her to face me once more. She puts away the knife, corrects her dress, and tidies up her hair almost as if remembering her part. What happened, honey? Are you still feeling ill? The woman tries to reach out to me, but I jump out of the way as if the floor were lava. Get away from me! Let me just check your temperature. I'm not fucking ill! I yell out in anger. Of course you are. I died. I know I did. Now I'm more certain of it than ever before. I am not dreaming, nor am I in a coma. I lived and died, and now I live again. As crazy as it sounds, it makes more fucking sense than whatever this is meant to be. This is your home, she states matter-of-factly. This isn't real. You aren't real. It's the medication. You're just confused. I'm confused? I laugh out at the creature with utter contempt. If you think this shitty illusion is going to keep me in here, you're mistaken. You might be able to fuck with my mind and fish there for some snippets of memories, but your clunky attempts at reconstructing anything even remotely realistic are laughable. Her face grows now more stern, yet she maintains the act. Young mister, you do not speak to your mother like this. I've worked very hard. Stop. I demand calmly. You're not my mother, and this isn't my home. Kaelin, you're breaking my heart. She clasps at her chest in a last-ditch attempt to emotionally blackmail me, but I'm immune to her tears. You have none. You aren't real. I call out, taking another step back. School? Really? What sort of lunatic would send their child to school a day after they woke up from a coma? Are you calling me a bad mother? Is that it? Your rebellious phase? The woman continues, but I am having none of it. She's acting like a game character whose dialogue options are glitching. This is pathetic. I am not a damn teen. You're just throwing a bunch of buzzwords with absolutely no context to them. Just like this place, a bunch of generic shit thrown in together. I spread my arms with scornful laughter. It looks exactly like what an alien would come up with after browsing the internet for reference. Whatever you are, you're not from my world, and whatever this is, it ends now. Oh, it ends, does it? Her voice turns unnaturally chilly. Finally, the game is over. Such a clever little boy. You think you don't like me? I freeze up, watching her form darken, elongate, and twist, just like the Beldam. In fact, with her transformation, the entire house seems to warp onto itself. Her bony fingers gently pat the table, clicking as if they were made of glass, while she utters a frigid, otherworldly whisper. Its sound pierces my mind like 1,000 needles, and I barely contain a scream. Well, wait until you see your father. Despite a cold shiver running down my spine, I try to remain calm. I won't be afraid. This thing is clearly feeding on my memories and emotions. I won't see anything. I'm going back. There is no running away, Kaelin. She snickers, extending her bony fingers towards me to elicit some terror. But I'm long beyond that. Just let Mommy take care of you. We wouldn't want to be disciplined, would we? I had Fulger's snarling muzzle inches away from my throat as he was choking the life out of me. I was stabbed and then nearly killed by the chief. You think you're scary? You're reenacting a children's book. Oh, but I fear your heart danced to my tune, boy. You can't hurt me. Can't I? She smiles wickedly, accepting the challenge. Within a split second, the creature rushes at me, brushing the table out of the way as if it were nothing. I run, as I've never run before, pushing myself from the walls to take a sharp left towards the bedroom. In the nick of time, I slam the door and turn the lock, just as she crashes into them with a considerable weight. I hear her bangs and wails as I slide to the floor. Fuck. Perhaps antagonizing that thing wasn't the best idea. I need to get out of here, but how? For a second, I think about throwing myself out the window, but if I die here, do I die in real life? No, there's got to be another way. Naively, I just close my eyes and click my heels together. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. I'll get you, my pretty, and your big wolf, too. The monstrous screeches intensifies and I begin to panic. Fuck. I need to get back. My heart spins out of control and I'm already hyperventilating. I'm in the grips of another panic attack. Oh my god, this is not the time for that. I yelp out as the door bounces with another bang. Caleb, come out, honey. It's time for your medicine, but this time there will be no spoonful of sugar to help it go down. She scratches against the door with her clawed fingers, and I cringe at the sound. Come out, or I'll huff and puff. The creature is going to break in any moment. I try to calm myself down, but to no avail, only to remember how Rannoch managed to bring me down from a panic attack. Despite repeating the breathing exercises and squeezing my arms to mimic what he had done, it doesn't help. What I truly need is him. He was the one that calmed me. Wait. I need to follow my compass. Rannoch is my north. Rannoch is my anchor. With an anchor around a neck, the swimmers drown. Ignore her. I need to get back to him. Back to the cabin. How do I get back? Roar! The door bounces once again. This time the hinge is audibly giving in as she issues an unnatural howl. I'm running out of time. Wait. Lavender! What? She stops momentarily her attempt to break in, and with that one reaction, she gave away the key to my freedom. This is a dream after all, not a place. I get up to my feet. I saw you manifest the flowers the moment I grew aware of their smell. It was the residual scent of the florets left in the cottage. That's why you moved it. No. She growls like a banshee, tracing her sharp fingernails against the door. But you didn't remove it. Not really. You made me think you did. No. She resumes her angered banging. Lavender. I need to focus on the scent of lavender. There it is. I can smell the sweet aroma once more, and the room begins to fade. No! The chirping of the birds reaches my ears, and her voice starts to fade away as well. No! The room grows darker until I'm surrounded by utter nothingness once again. You will not get away from me! The being issues a roar filled with utter hatred and anger, but it's all quickly washed away by a feeling of unparalleled comfort. I smile as a slither of light pierces through the darkness and I can hear the familiar sound of the forest intensify. I already have. Wake up! My body almost leaps at the chance to break free from slumber. You cannot keep him hidden in the waking world forever. At first I feel unsettled by that command, but quickly the feeling of comfort returns. Wake up! The cold air rushes down my windpipe as I take a desperate inhale. I throw myself up, sitting in the bed completely startled, touching my entire body and patting the bedding beside me. Once I'm convinced enough that I'm back in the real world, I manage to calm down my erratic breathing. The bedding is soggy. I sweated a lot during my sleep. No wonder I spent the entire night locked in a mind game while physically enveloped by a furry wolf. Speaking of said wolf, Rannoch's nowhere to be seen, and I immediately fear that he has left without me. I look towards the open window which allows the fresh air to come in and mingle with the lingering scent of lavender florets. I never thought I'd be so happy to smell lavender, but here we are. Judging by the light, I don't think Rannoch has left yet. It's bright, not bright enough for it to be too close to noon, but way past sunrise, that's for sure. I shudder suddenly, startled by a creaking sound coming from up above. It's followed by some clunking, and it becomes clear someone's up there. Rannoch? I call out to the kitchen, hoping my wolf is about, but to my surprise, his voice comes from the ceiling. Galen, you're up? Yeah. I mutter, slightly choked up. I'm relieved to hear him. What are you doing? Getting stuff ready for our departure. We need gear for the trip. You should have woken me up. My voice might carry slight more annoyance than it should as I scramble to get out of the bed. You slept like a rock. I didn't want to disturb you. Well, you still should have. In truth, I wish he had, but then again, he might have been able to pull me out of my stupor, and then he'd be all panicked. Perhaps it's best this way. Do you need any help? I ask, quickly locating various pieces of my garment dotting the floor, a memento of our rather passionate evening. I blush, reminiscing how close we've gotten to... Not really, but I wouldn't mind some company. The wolf pulls me back into reality, and I shake my head. Not the time to be getting horny again. I'll be right there. I begin to put my clothes on hastily, and once I'm presentable, I step into the kitchen only to stop at the entry and face the ceiling once again. How do I get up? There's a ladder at the back of the cabin. Oh, okay. I step outside and take a free, deep inhale of the forest air, enjoying the view for what it's worth. The beauty of the spot on which he built his house is more apparent than ever before. Especially now that I got out of the hellscape I was trapped in. I don't even consider talking about what happened tonight. What would I even say that wouldn't be immediately brushed off as a bad dream? Or worse yet, if he actually believed me, he'd set me straight to Verissa for observation, and there would go our joint excursion. No, talking about this is not an option. Not now, at least. After all this pep talk about being self-reliant, it would be dumb for me to unload this stuff on the unsuspecting wolf. Hey, so since we're dating, I need you to know that I'm possessed. Hope it's not a deal breaker. I shake my head and snort at the mock-up confession. No. I'd much rather focus on being together and enjoying the time we have. Especially since so far, I'm having the upper hand at keeping this stuff under control. Push comes to shove, I simply copy Verissa's markings, but for now, I'm here, free, taking in the glorious woods around me. I don't think I was ever this outdoorsy in my previous life, whatever it was, but this new experience grew on me unexpectedly quick. Even you, Mr. Outhouse, you ain't that bad. I mumble towards the bushes, behind which rests the rustic toilet. Might be the least pleasant part of my old-timey way of life, but still much better than whatever the fuck I was presented with tonight. As promised, I'm greeted by a wobbly ladder scaling the back wall of the cottage and leading up towards a small door. I climb the pegs and squeeze myself in, wondering how on earth did Rannoch manage to get through. At first, my eyes take some time to adjust to the dimly lit attic, but soon enough I can see that it's a small space filled with lots of different stuff. Rannoch's rested against the front wall, sitting beneath the only window and fiddling with a large piece of 20 brown cloth. What's up? My moon drop is up. He teases as I slowly crawl my way up towards him. I'm just making sure that there aren't any tears. The last thing we need is getting wet on our journey. Yeah, I know my poor fluff doesn't like water. It's actually more for your comfort than mine. I finally get to snuggle into his chest and ruffle the gray fur. Hey, what's this? The wolf's rather surprised at my forwardness, but I don't care. After all that's happened throughout the night, I just need to be held by him and feel his warmth, smell his scent. Soon enough, my silent wish is granted, and he embraces me tightly, lifting my chin so that our gazes could meet. His kind, green eyes look to me with love as he plants a quick lick across my lips. Slept well? Heh. I nearly choke at the absurdity of the question given the circumstance, but I decide to simply shrug it off. So. I don't want to ruin the moment nor trouble him with whatever I'm going through. I'm getting more convinced this was not madness, but yeah, not the time for it at the moment. I simply pull away gently and look around the various gizmos littering the ground. Anything I can help with? Not really. I don't think you'd know where to start. Fair enough. I chuckle. So I'll just settle myself into this corner and get out of your way. Good boy. Hey, that compliment goes the other way around. I narrow my eyes teasingly, causing his tail to thump against the wooden floor. The attic is surprisingly busy for a wolf whose house looks rather spartan. So we're heading out just the two of us? He smiles at me knowingly and narrows his brows. Indeed. We'll get some quality time together. What about your pack? They have a different task. With Tano leaving to find Dalaran, my father called all able-bodied wolves to deliver howl summons. Vol left just before dawn. Oh. I respond rather mopey. I didn't get to wish him a safe travels. Trust me, he was in no mood for talking. He nearly choked me when I joked he'd rush off so early to avoid bumping into Ragara. Yeah, that one seems a rather sore spot for him. Serves him right. Rannoch shrugs, ruffling the 10th cloth to inspect another of the folds. He gets a taste of his own medicine. I'd even go as far as to say Ragara is much more tactful than he ever was with Verissa. I smile awkwardly. It doesn't take much to imagine how badly the Black Wolf butchers his attempts at wooing the female. I bet he's improving with time. He does with me. I flash my brows, drawing Rannoch's curious gaze. I mean, at first his instinct was to kill me on sight, to the point you had to shield me. Now he only talks about killing me when he's annoyed. Vol's always annoyed. The wolf sneers in jest, and I chuckle. I suppose, but not always with me. I say with some sense of confidence, and the wolf simply nods in concession. Vol might direct his outbursts at me, but I get a feeling it's more out of habit than genuine dislike. With a short lull in the conversation, I look around the attic once again. There's a bunch of odds and ends here and there. With idle hands, I decide to check the nearest box, only to find an assortment of different chisels and tools. A true carpenter, I see. Not a professional. He shrugs modestly. Just something to pass the time with. Each wolf has a hobby. Maybe, but I doubt many made their own furniture. You'd be surprised. The wolf smiles, reaching up for the corners of the tent and slowly beginning to fold it up. There's not much need for stuff like that within the tribe, for anyone to make it their full-time profession, so we all must make do on our own. We don't even have a jeweler. The village smith has to double as one. You mean Ragaro's father? Yeah. He sighs. Truth be told, she's been slowly taking over his work. The wolf is getting too old for that profession. I quickly touch the emblem on my collar, petting it slightly. I don't find anything wrong with your crest. It's lovely. You enjoy it? I smile reluctantly, looking towards the exit as if I wanted to run away. I do, actually. As embarrassing as it is to admit, it makes me feel like I belong. You're not my proper... I know. I cut him off, facing him with a confident smile. I meant, as in belonging at your side. Oh. He blushes slightly and looks away. Despite getting quite flustered, I can see his tail wagging happily behind him. Maybe he can sense my heart rate, but I can read his moods just as well. So, what's up with that busted chair? I nod towards the broken, upturned seat, and Rannoch looks at it awkwardly. Oh, that. I meant to fix it, but quickly realized it wasn't sturdy enough. Might as well use it as firewood now. Those are claw marks. I grimace, pointing at the obvious sign of violence. Yeah, a token of one of Vol's many tantrums. He hurled it at me when Varissa stayed the night. He thought that we... The wolf pauses, twiddling bashfully with his fingers, but quickly shakes his head. But we didn't. Geez, he's quite possessive of her. Yeah. He sighs in feigned amusement. Why was she staying the night, though? She doesn't strike me as a sleepover type of gal. She needed comforting, and Cora was away with Dalaran's pack. The shaman just passed away, and she was reeling from both his loss and her new appointment. Damn. If there was a perfect time for Vol to shine, it was then. Are you kidding? Rannoch snorts. The reason she came to me in the first place, despite all the rumors it would cause, is because the first thing that he did is ask her to be his mate. He cornered her out in the open, smiled ear to ear for everyone to see, ignoring completely the tribe's mourning. I cringe, imagining the scene caused and how distressed Varissam had to be. That guy really doesn't have a clue, does he? Worst part, he barged in here while we were breaking fast, most likely spurred by the talk on the street. Without waiting for an explanation, he simply hurled the chair half across the room, nearly taking us both out with it. What? I gasp, half in shock and half in amusement that I'm even surprised. After all, I've experienced that side of him myself, but it's not something I'm going to share. Vol has enough bad rep as it is to deal with. Yeah, so when I tell you to stay out of his way at the moment, it's because I mean it. Anyway, I better hurry up with all of this before Father sends the guards to fetch us. I laugh and nod, allowing him to get back to the task at hand without further distractions. Eventually, he finally gathers everything up and stuffs it neatly into a leather backpack. But the wolf doesn't stop there. He fetches a rope, some iron pins, and other odds and ends, filling the pockets to the brim, and I begin to worry about the size our luggage begins to grow to. As we leave the attic, I decide to voice my concerns. This is a lot of stuff. Are you sure we need all of this? My voice conveys doubt as I take a hold of the burgeoning backpack he passes to me from above. I struggle to place it down on the ground, causing the dangling metal pan and pot to clang merrily together. That's just the bedding and the tent cloth. What about this then? I point to the hanging cooking utensils, and the wolf shrugs. We need those. It's going to be a long trek, and we must eat well. I'm not sure I'll be able to carry all of this. You'll have to. The wolf states plainly through a coy smile as he closes the attic door and slides down the ladder, landing on the ground with a dusty oof. Because what I'll be carrying, you'll definitely won't be able to lift. Okay. I mutter, intrigued by his comment. Come, let's get some quick grub, get ready, and head for the villa. I nod reluctantly, trying to pick up the overloaded bag. I slump it over my shoulder and simply carry it, trying to catch up to the wolf. Once we're inside, Rannoch starts up the fire and cooks up a solid breakfast, just like he did on my first day here. We need our strength for the road, so eat up. None of that I'm full nonsense. He teases, mimicking my manner of speech as he places down the loaded plates. Despite not eating well the previous night, for some reason I feel quite hungry, and I dig in with little to no objections. We enjoy our breakfast together, with me trying to prod him for additional information every now and then, but he dismisses all attempts with a simple, "You will see." It's clear he's as eager and excited to show me around as much as I'm eager to finally see the world outside of this village. Not that it didn't grow on me. Here in this cottage, listening to gentle wind and crackling of fire, nestled in the delectable smell of bacon and eggs, I feel truly at home. Halfway through our meal, a knock comes to the door, and Rannoch rushes to open them. That must be Verissa, he mutters, wiping his muzzle clean of egg yolk and pulling on the door handle. I don't have long, she states plainly, walking in and placing her bag on the table with a soft thud. I got the stuff you asked for, a vial of honey, and ginger root in case he gets a fever. I watch as she deposits aforementioned items onto the wooden top with a risen brow. Me? Either of you. She corrects herself awkwardly. But considering your lack of fur, my money's on you getting ill. I also have elderflower and coriander for pain relief and inflammation, as well as lichen sal for any open wounds. That's a lot of stuff you brought us. I flash my brows, returning to my meal. Better safe than sorry, I say. I guess. I appreciate their protectiveness, so I won't argue, but this feels slightly over the top. If you end up using the ginger root, I expect you to buy it back at the market once you get to Strambard. This stuff isn't exactly common, nor cheap. Of course. Ugh, you both reek of lavender. Quite potently, might I add. She says with an odd suspicion in her voice, narrowing her eyes as if demanding an explanation. Someone came into my house and peppered it with dried florets, stinking up the whole place. I didn't have time to clear them out, so we ended up smelling like perfumed pounces. Rannoch beats me to it, causing Verissa to raise her brow even higher. Funny you should say that. Someone raided my cottage as well. Her voice is somber, and she looks around in deep concern. They stole a bunch of stuff, my entire lavender supply with it. Why would someone steal your lavender, only to dump it in our place? Good question. The female nods, gazing at Rannoch expectantly. Did they take anything? Not that I could tell. And I assume you couldn't identify them by scent either? Not over the damn smell. My wolf nearly growls, and she nods in fearful agreement. That's what I thought. Lavender has a potent fragrance, good for masking scent. At least you slept well. Wait, what do you mean? That last part caught me off guard. Lavender is a medicinal herb. It calms and relaxes. That's why I added it to your soap. You were a bundle of nerves. If you slept at night surrounded by the scent, it will send you into a deep, undisturbed sleep. I often use it myself to enter a meditative state. You don't say. I mutter, increasingly unconvinced that yesterday's break-in wasn't as innocent as initially thought. Was Andalt really responsible for my nightly trip? This idea did cross my mind, but that would mean he's in league with the Whispers, or worse yet, he's the Whispers himself. Then again, Lavender was a key of my escape from the Nightmare Realm, so was it just all a coincidence? Or is he just this incompetent? I wrestle with those questions only to be brought back to here and now by Varys's gentle paw landing on my shoulder. Is everything alright? I think so. Just a bit spooked that two people had their houses broken into. Brannock tells me it's not a common occurrence around here. Not at all. Defiling someone's den is a grievous transgression. Wolves are banished for far less. I think it's Tano trying to fuck with me. No. Verissa shakes her head softly, and I almost audibly agree with her. Say what you will, but Tano respects your boundaries, and he would never ignore the sanctity of a shaman's household. This here is a work of an unhinged wolf with a death wish on his head. You mean to say it's Andalt? She closes her eyes and nods solemnly. Why would he start shit with me? He knows I have no patience for games. Might be because Kaelin stays with you. I honestly don't know what's going on with him. You'd think you and Tano have bad blood. I never spoke to that wolf after his outburst at my anointment. I saw him once observing me from a distance. I decide to pitch in. No need to live in uncertainty when we can all collaborate our stories. I also know that he was snooping around the cottage a few nights back when you were away. How do you know? I just do. I shrug. With what Varissa said, I grow more and more confident that Tano's being honest with me. At least to a point. I'm not about to break his confidence. That bastard! Brannock growls nastily, squeezing his fists in anger. What game is he playing at? I wouldn't know, but I also wouldn't join in either. The female places her comforting paws on both of our chests. Andalt is a few peas short of a stew. We have more important things to deal with than his misguided antics. But if he broke into our homes... He continues to sneer, but the female cuts him off. So what of it? He stole some herbs and made your house smell nice. She rolls her eyes, splaying her arms in clear annoyance. Look, I have wounded to attend to, and I must prepare for the howl on top of that. I'm to lead the ceremonies, which, considering my lack of training, is a lot of responsibility for somebody my age. Her voice carries an obvious strain, and Ranat looks at her worryingly, causing the female to sigh and give him a soft, encouraging smile in turn. I'm sorry, please. I didn't mean it like that. I can manage. But we all have our own responsibilities to tend to. You need to get to Strandbard and secure supplies. She falls silent, grasping at her elbow with one paw and reluctantly looking to the side. I'm working with weeds here. I have to patch them up on mushrooms and moonshine. We need real medicine. The female stresses, facing my wolf with determination. We need salves and potions from the Tigeri apothecaries. The old man left our stocks dangerously low on anything remotely useful. I was this close to amputating Enya's arm. Thankfully, it didn't come to that, as she's a stubborn little bitch. Verissa smiles teasingly, almost as if trying to encourage herself as much as us. But she cracked her fang while biting on a leather strap as I was setting her bones back in place. I can't work under these conditions. If there is a war coming, I'll be as useful to the tribe in healing capacity as Vulgar is. In fact, I almost considered sending for him yesterday. She cringes, obviously not at the idea of him aiding her, but at what he would aid her in. The image of him chopping someone's arm off causes me to shudder. I meant to be a healer, but I'm reduced to a role of a butcher, or worse yet, a torturer. That's why I don't think a grief-stricken wolf sulking in the woods is our primary concern. You're right. As usual. Rannoch responds almost begrudgingly, and I smile. It still doesn't sit right with me if Andalt becomes unpredictable. He's a problem for another day. I still hope he'll come around. We all do. I can't imagine what Tybalt must be going through. The wolf sighs and takes a deep chug of beer. As the saying goes, sow your seed far and wide, lest you end up empty-handed. That is, if you intend to have pups. She darts her gaze towards me, but I don't think Rannoch noticed. He only laughs, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. Oh, of course I do, but that is also a problem for another day. Smooth save, I think. Anyway, as I said, I can't stay long. I wish you a safe journey. The female comes closer and places her paws on our chests once again. The moon goddess watches over you, both of you. She says that more in a form of a blessing, which I assume it is. As she walks towards the doors, she comes to a stop and looks back towards us with a rather troubled gaze. I know this must be hard for you, but you'll find a way, she says reluctantly, and I look to Rannoch, whose entire expression shifted. She's serious and solemn. I know how to get there. I've traveled that path once before. Indeed. The female narrows her brows and gives a nervous tail flick before stepping out. You'll be fine, Kaelin. What was that about? I ask, rather taken by that ominous exchange. She's always doubting my ability, treating me as if I were a pup. His voice sounds very sour, and I almost want to pat him in sympathy. I doubt that's true. She just worries. Well, encouragement would have been better than nagging. When she said it was technically an encouragement, then why didn't it feel like it? Relax, Mr. Grumpy Pants. It's your hunger talking. I smile softly, nodding towards our unfinished breakfast. I'm not entirely sure what else to tell him, but before I make up my mind, he's back to digging at his meal. I decide not to interrupt him. His mood is rather testy, and we should be leaving shortly anyway. I'm slightly troubled by Varys's behavior near the end, though. There was something off about the way she looked at me, almost as if she was sad. Or perhaps I'm just reading into things. After all, she's been through hell of her very own. We spend the rest of the time in a relative silence. Once we finish with the food, we empty our mugs, and I help clean up. Can't leave dirty dishes for a whole week, which I'm told is as long as this trip is going to take. While I ensure nothing is going to get moldy or attract insects, Rannoch packs the remainder of our stuff and dons his gear. When that's done, I pick up one of Rannoch's spare cloaks and put it on, securing my new dandelion and its pin. It does clash a bit with the dress, but it will protect my skin from bruising against the leather straps of the backpack. Now I look like a fancy hobbit. I require the wolf's help to put on the backpack, grunting audibly when he lets it rest freely on my shoulders. You'll get used to it. Not a comforting thought if I'm to be honest. It is time that we get some muscles on those bones. He winks coyly and opens the door. He invites me to go outside with a gracious paw wave, and I take one last look across the cottage. I'll miss this place, that's for sure. But my mood is lifted by a simple thought that I'll be on a journey there and back again. It's a dangerous business, my friend Frodo, going out the door. I muse playfully, walking through the doorframe and causing Rannoch to blink. Frodo? You step onto the road, and if you don't keep your feet, there's no telling where you might be swept off to. I didn't realize you had a poet bent. He chuckles while closing the door behind him, and I shrug with a soft smile. Plenty of time to learn more about each other on the open road. Very true. The wolf nods, and we set off towards the villa, where we're to pick up our instructions and the last piece of luggage. And that's where I'm going to leave it for today. Pity I can't actually save. So yeah, it turns out that that little nightmare thing was all, well, a nightmare. It wasn't a real thing. It was being caused by the darkness, I'm assuming. This unforeseen whisper voice thingamajigger that we still don't know what it's, about. And yeah. So thankfully, the human is out and back in Turnen. Even if this is, a sort of afterlife for the human, because apparently he actually died and was resurrected. And it's also kind of funny that it was It had like little references here and there to certain things, but one of the references that stood out to me the most was the Coraline one because of the Beldam, the ghost children, and the human having to go back to the real world or to his real, um, to his own reality. Because in the movie Coraline, and I'm assuming, I think it's a book. I'm not sure. I only know it as a movie. But in the movie, the the main character Coraline goes with her parents into a new house, and there's no friends or anything there. She's really annoyed. The parents aren't spending any time with her. She was gonna do some gardening with the parents, but they're all very busy. And eventually, she discovers a key, I think, or something that leads her. I think it's a doll of her, and it leads her to basically an alternate reality version of the house with a different mom and a different dad who have buttons for eyes. And in this alternate reality, everything is the ideal version. Like all the parents are there and they're super attentive of her. They're giving her everything that she wants. They're feeding her all her favorite foods and so much different things. And even the neighbors are all like the ideal versions of the neighbors. Um, but it turns out that this alternate reality version is all basically like a trap, like a spider's trap. And the other mother, as she's called, is also known as the Beldam, which is kind of like a witch. Um, Basically lures children there to the alternate reality version because it's not really explained, but it's because she wants a child to take care of, but the child never really wants to stay because you're not her real parent. So she eventually sort of forces them to stay there by taking their eyes, I think. And that's one of the things that Coraline has to do in order to free the ghost children in order to also get out. But the Beldam also steals Coraline's real parents, and she has to confront the thing again, and it's a whole thing. But anyways, it was kind of cool seeing my favorite movie referenced because I really like that movie, and also the Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, and I think it's the Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland are two things that the human mentioned like way before in some of the previous chapters. So that's probably why the Beldam was dressing up like Alice and why the Wizard of Oz figurines were in the fake house. And so yeah, it's a lot of like neat little details that Kael wrote into that scene. But yeah, it's a good thing that that wasn't real though. But I'm pretty sure some other weird stuff like that's gonna happen again. I mean, if it happened once, it can certainly happen again. What else? What else? What else? Mm, oh, the human should have asked Verissa, to like put those tattoos on his arm. Come on, 'cause that's probably the easiest way to stop the whispers. Just put those tattoos on your arm, and you'll be able to sleep soundly without having to worry about some whispers or darkness pulling you into another illusion. And apparently, the darkness or the whispers, whatever you want to call them, are trying to get the human for something, but something is preventing them from getting the human. And in my head, I'm thinking that it's maybe a Luna or some other higher power. And the darkness is, for some reason, it wants the human. But this higher power is not letting it, get the human and is basically putting him in a position to be with Rannoch. For what reason, we do not know. But yeah, I guess we'll have to find out in the next episode. Or in next updates, because I already did this entire update. So I know what happens, but you guys don't, unless you already did the whole update yourself, because it's not going to come out until the week after the Friday this came out. So yeah, you have the whole weekend to play this update before I release it. But anyways, thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play Far Beyond the World yourself, you can find it over on itch. If you would like to support the project, there is a Patreon, and I will link to that in the description. If you would like to follow Kael Tiger and get I think he has a link there for the for the itch page, then I will also link down for that. Also, if you want uh if you want to get more up to date updates, you can find the Discord channel for Far Beyond the World, and he's more active there, so you get more information if you join the Discord than if you go to Twitter. But either one is fine. I'm following him on Twitter and I'm on the Discord, but I'm lurking as I always do. There's also another Discord is specifically for visual novels, I think, and I'm on that one too. And I also lurk there because I have social anxiety and I don't. I don't. I find it very hard to talk to random people. So I'm there. People can talk to me, but like I don't initiate any conversations. But I am leaving like links to my videos there too. So if you watch this video from a link that I put there, cool. It's working. Um, but yeah. Anyways, I guess I will see you guys in the next episode. So if this comes out Monday, then the next episode will be Wednesday. Hopefully, because I am going to be very busy during the weekend and I don't know if I'm going to be able to record. It's the holiday season after all, and I really want to take like a week off, but at the same time, I feel like if I do, then I'm going to miss stuff, and then you guys are going to get mad or something, and it's like very stressful. But anyways, bye-bye.